Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the Scarlet Witch expansion, specifically a Justice build deck. Scarlet Witch is a character based on chaos. A lot of her deck constructions and deck builds I found were a little bit challenging to deal with, specifically threat mitigation when you were playing with her. I chose Justice to add that sort of stable threat mitigation to this deck and her playstyle. A lot of her cards are based upon the encounter cards that you're pulling and the boost icons from essentially the villain deck. And so all of that variation makes it difficult to control threat mitigation. So specifically Hexbolt is really the only card in her deck that you can use to mitigate threat. Although there's 4 copies of it, you never know what icons you are going to get. So really what it came down to is I think Justice was the best aspect to pick for Scarlet Witch. Here is the deck build. Grab all of your Scarlet Witch cards, 1 copy of Energy Genius Strength, 2 copies of Foiled, your basic Resource Management, Helicarrier, Quinn Carrier, Avengers Mansion, basic Survivability, Endurance and Downtime, 1 copy of each of those. Next up, 1 copy of the Sorcerer Supreme, 1 copy of Nick Fury. I like Ironheart as well in this deck. Next, we're going to add 3 copies of Clear the Area, 3 copies of Multitasking, 3 copies of Turn the Tide, 3 copies of Followed. You can have 1 copy of Under Surveillance, 1 copy of Skilled Investigator, 2 copies of Crisis Averted, and 1 copy of Heroic Intuition. Round out this deck build with 3 allies of your choice. For this deck, I just picked 1 copy of Daredevil, Spider-Man, and Jessica Jones, but you can pick any of your favorite Justice allies. Here are 3 cards I suggest for the Mulligan / opening hand. This support alter ego ally will really help you with cycling through your deck. You can draw 3 cards, keep 1 of them, and then you put the other 2 at the bottom of your draw deck. The next one is the Sorcerer Supreme. This is a fantastic card. Since Scarlet Witch is a mystic, she can use this card, and it increases your hand size by 1 when you're in hero form. So if you have this card out, both your alter ego and hero form, you will have a hand size of 6, which is absolutely fantastic. Finally is Scarlet Witch's Crest. This sort of hat will allow you to modify the amount of boost icons that are being drawn. And you can do 1 of 2 things with this. Let's say you're getting hit for a lot of damage. The boost card off the villain is maybe 3 points. You can go ahead and reduce it by 1 point. Something else that you can do with this is that when you're playing Hexbolt, you can increase or decrease any of those boost icons to something that you really want. So I'll go ahead and show you that combo next. The key to being successful with Scarlet Witch is to control the chaos. So her basic core ability for her hero, it allows her to basically replace a boost card that has been drawn. So let's say, you're fighting the villain and it draws 3 boost icons when it's hitting you, when it's attacking you, and you say, you know what, I don't think so. So then you say, okay, I'm going to discard the top card off the encounter deck and replace it. Let's say you get a boost icon of 1. So effectively, you just reduce the damage to you by 2 points. So this concept you can use to manipulate all sorts of different cards in Scarlet Witch's deck. This hat and her crest does the same thing. So you can add 1 or subtract 1 from that draw. So from that encounter draw and those boost icons. And then finally, Hexbolt is a very versatile card. It allows you to draw 3 encounter cards, and then you get to trigger different special effects based upon how many boost icons are present on those cards drawn from the encounter deck. But just note that for Hexbolt, if you're drawing 3 cards, you can manipulate those boost icons with both this crest card and her heroic special ability. So this really gives you a lot of power and control over the chaos, and it adds a lot of fun to the game. So you can do a lot of tricky and sneaky things, but kind of the cost to this is you're going to be burning through that encounter deck so fast that you're going to get those threat acceleration tokens out pretty quickly. So you really have to worry about threat mitigation. As I said at the beginning of this video, I felt that Justice was the best aspect to mix with Scarlet Witch. This is another reason why you want to mix Justice with her. You're going to be getting a lot of acceleration tokens, and you need a way to control and manage all of that threat. So definitely work on Justice. So think about Hexbolt too, is this can be a tanking card, which means that you can soak up damage with it. So as an example, if I draw 2 boost icons, I could use this crest to add 1 to it, and then I can place a status card on a character. I can use that to place a toughness token on Scarlet Witch, or I can stun the villain, or I can stun a minion. So think of it as a very defensive card too. So Hexbolt doesn't have to be simply offensive. You can soak up a lot of damage with Scarlet Witch by getting those toughness cards on her and stunning the villain as well. Another sort of fun chaos card is Molecular Decay. And the Scarlet Witch expansion has 3 copies of this in the deck. What's kind of interesting about this is that it's a pretty high damage dealing card. And in some cases, I was able to get it to hit for 10 points of damage just based upon luck. So basically what it does is you pay 3 for it. It does 5 points of damage no matter what. And then you draw 2 cards off the encounter deck and you get to add the boost icons to it. So in one case, it was really ridiculous. I was able to get a +2 and a +3, so it hits for 10. But often I find that this thing hits for around 7 or 8, just most of the time in general. So for a 3 cast, it's a pretty good card. It's pretty cost effective, but it's also kind of fun when you anticipate drawing those 2 cards to see how much boost damage you're actually going to get off of it. And just remember too that you can use Wanda's special ability, which can allow you to look at another encounter card, and then also too you can use her crest, and you can exhaust the crest to add an extra boost icon onto that card, so you can kind of edge up that damage just a little bit more. So if you have this card out in conjunction with playing Molecular Decay, you're going to often hit for 8 or 9 points of damage, which I think is a pretty solid attack. Scarlet Witch has surprising survivability for only having 10 hit points. So, as with all decks, pretty much, add a copy of Downtime and Endurance to improve survivability. Something else that this deck has are 3 copies of Magic Shield, and this is a fantastic card. It's an upgrade that you can just put out on the table, and you can discard it to basically prevent 3 points of damage. So think of it as just like a shield you can use to soak up damage. Now, we just talked before about her ability to generate these toughness cards. So she's pretty tanky. You can put these toughness cards on her to soak up damage, and you can also use these Magic Shield cards as well. So what's really surprising about Scarlet Witch, she has a lot of defense capabilities. So when you mix that with the Justice aspect and some of this chaotic attack magic, it's a really nice sort of blended and balanced deck. So I really found this to be a pretty solid solo deck. It also worked pretty good at multiplayer as well. Another aspect of this deck I really love is the ability to draw cards, and a lot of cards, and to cycle through your deck effectively. So Wanda's basic alter ego special ability is just like Quicksilver's. It allows you to discard cards and then draw an amount back, and obviously you get a bonus if her brother's out. Nick Fury is a great card for card drawing. Avengers Mansion obviously is for drawing cards. Skilled Investigator also allows you to draw cards after a side scheme is defeated. Ironheart I threw into this deck. When you bring out Ironheart, you get to draw a card. Hexbolt, specifically if you get 2 boost icons, allows you to draw a card. Clear the Area also has card drawing. And then in addition, Agatha also has card drawing. So something about this deck that makes it a little bit more powerful than most of the decks that I built is the ability to just keep drawing card after card after card. In addition to that, once you're using the Sorcerer Supreme, which allows your hero hand size to be 6, this deck flows and works really, really well. You have a lot of resources to do things, and you're constantly drawing cards, and you have these big turns that you can use. And you can use to whittle down the villain or whittle down threats or whatever it is you need to get done. This deck can do it, and it's really effective. So card drawing is one of the core centerpieces of this deck, and it works really, really well. A new card in the set is Crisis Averted. So for a cost of 3 resources, and if you spend just 1 mental resource, you can remove 6 threats and you can avoid the crisis icon. Now, in general, this card you probably won't realize and be able to use a lot of those points, especially if you're playing solo. But I found that if you just put in one copy of Under Surveillance, this allows that scheme to grow and have up to 4 extra threat on it. So you almost always use the 6th threat being removed. So I think this is a cool combo. Multitasking is also a new card in the set, and it allows you to remove 2 threat from 2 different schemes, but you have to use a mental resource once again. So a lot of these new Justice cards, you have to spend a mental resource. Another card, which I didn't think I was going to really enjoy all that much, was Turn the Tide. I found this card to be really, really fun, and I actually enjoyed seeing it every single time. So a lot of times when you whittle away and you get rid of a scheme, you know, that's cool to get rid of it, but being able to throw an additional 3 points of damage into the mix is really, really fun. In addition to that, you can make this even crazier by placing a copy of Followed on the scheme. So once you defeat it, you can do 4 points of damage to an enemy, and then you can follow it up immediately and do 3 points of damage to an enemy. You can do it to the same enemy or different enemies. This was extremely fun. So playing these 2 cards together is a great combo. I always like just showing off some of the new cards in the expansion set. So, of course, Wanda has to have her brother Quicksilver in the deck. So here he is. Similar sort of thing to what you saw in the Quicksilver expansion. He's able to ready an extra time per turn, just automatically. That's a cool special ability. And then the other one that is included in the set is Warp Reality. So you can essentially just nullify an encounter card, but then you have to discard cards from the top of the encounter deck, equal to the number of boost icons on that card. So it's pretty cool, a little bit situational. I found it pretty decent in some cases. Other cases, it was just okay. I have to admit, I'm a little bit sad now that I know that the Avengers block is officially coming to a close. The next stage of Marvel Champions will be Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm super excited to get into those expansion sets. So the next set that's going to be up is going to feature Groot and Rocket. So I'm super excited to get that expansion and start digging into those deck builds. There's going to be new mechanics in that set. And I want you all to know that I'm going to keep continuing and following Marvel Champions. This is a game I really enjoy. And I'm super excited for the next phase of Marvel Champions. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. And I always want to thank you for spending your time with me. And as always, have fun gaming.